Okay, so not too long ago, I asked people for their wildest Transformers Skybound theories, and I really didn't expect so many replies. And because of that, I was kind of going back and forth whether to make this just a full length video or a stream. And I realized if I made it a stream, people would be putting in the chat even more wild theories. So we're just going to do a video, and I'm going to try to get through all of these in a timely manner. Who knows, maybe this video is going to be super long. I don't know. We're just going to try it. I'm going to read them. I'm going to sort them out from YouTube from oldest to newest. So that's just the way we're going to read them. Some of the original comments that first popped up, I have to say I was kind of disappointed in. I'm looking for wild things, you know, and y'all are out here being like Optimus Prime and Megatron are going to fight. Okay, man. All right. The first comment was from me, and I said that Thundercracker becoming Superion's new arm does not count. This theory has been posted to death. Think of another one. And I really mean it. I've seen so many of them. And of course, Spideyman1146 says Blade becomes Superion's new arm. And, you know, why don't we check in on Alpha Bravo? His response being no. The Gilsey31 says, this is practically fanfic, but Bruticus is damaged. Onslaught, Vortex, Swindle are the only survivors. Swindle is fairly unscathed and goes on to his infamous arms dealer storyline. Into Void Rivals? That is a good idea. Vortex becomes either Alpha Bravo or Switchblade Mask. Interesting, okay. Onslaught Spark merged with Blastoff Brawl by Shockwave gives us a Scourge Nemesis Prime style bot. Okay. Scourge gets unalived by the real Optimus Prime. Soundwave creates Motor Master out of his remaining parts as Scourge 2.0 for the revenge against Optimus Prime. Defeated again gets a trailer power boost armor. Defeated again, Shockwave resurrects bots or modifies another like Cliff as a prisoner of war, and boom, 4 bots added to the team Menasor. Menasor is wild, unpredictable, unstable due to his Frankenstein-esque origin of the components and the hatred for Optimus Prime from each limb. You know what, man? Let's do it. These are the type of wild things that I want. I don't want just like Starscream comes back. No, come on. I want wild stuff, you know? Wild, wild, wild stuff. Give it to me. Inject it into my veins. Please. Paul Stargasm says, Thundercracker becomes Superion's leg. Paul, that one's on me. I should have clarified no Thundercracker theories for Superion, so you get it there. The dude 4840 says Thundercracker is going to try and revive Blitzwing and Slipstream in vain and hope to bring them into the fold. It might work for Slipstream, but Blitzwing will reject the idea and immediately break out Soundwave. I don't think that's going to happen just because Thundercracker literally told Optimus Prime not to do this. So, it's an interesting theory, but I think they've kind of already said no to this in the story itself. The Fiendish Fox 2345 says, he's actually got a few here. He's got 3. Megatron and Optimus Prime will be forced to work together to return back to Cybertron and fight off the Quintessons. Good idea. Omega Supreme will return and actually do something for once. I think he'll return. I don't think he's going to be doing anything, though. And 3, Starscream returns to his old treacherous roots, then has his identity crisis, remembering who he once was, and later begrudgingly joins Thundercracker in the Autobots. I don't think that's where they're going to take Starscream, but it will be interested to see once he's brought back into the fold of the series what he's going to be doing. Joshua P. Boston, 1999, says, I know this may seem a bit disheartening and discouraging, but my predictions is that the quantity of issues and characters will take more and more precedence over quality of storytelling, and eventually people will start tuning out. I hope that I'm proven wrong. I replied to him by saying, I probably should have specified I was looking for story theories, not sales chart theories, but this one still does count. It does count. Raid Mustafa says Astro Train's dead love was Blitzwing. This is a very common popular theory. I think people have latched onto this one simply just because they're both triple changers. I don't know. Spideyman back here again says in issue 27, Thundercracker states that he would choose Skywarp over 100 human beings, even though he doesn't want said human beings to die, which was a great line. I think that at some point Thundercracker is going to actually have to make that decision, similar to how Megatron tried to force Optimus to choose between Beachcomber, Spike, and Carly. I do think that this would be a really great dilemma and moment of kind of character development for Thundercracker to make him actually choose between these characters. Rocky says, I have a somewhat particularly effed up theory for Astro Train that's a crackpot theory. My theory is Astro Train was forced to kill his lover via Megatron's gun mode because they ran afoul of the Decepticons. Could be an Autobot or a neutral, doesn't matter. Hence why Astro Train was really interested in removing Meg's head from his shoulders. Also another bit, I for one do not think it's Blitzwing. Okay, see, I'm not against the idea of it being Blitzwing, but I feel like the community has just kind of all together said, yeah, it's Blitzwing. It's Blitzwing. We know it's Blitzwing. And I think that's really dangerous because in the fact that it's not Blitzwing, people are going to be really upset and be like, wow, I can't believe that they dropped the ball on this. We don't know who it is. You know, we can theory craft, but let's not pretend like these things are actually going to happen. You know, we don't know. Nocturnal Cove says Starscream being the one to kill Megatron at the end, but is also killed in the process either by Megatron, Soundwave, or Carly. This is a good one. I think this one fits in line with where the story has gone so far. Mockery Man says, I have a feeling Bumblebee will come back to life, but not as the cheerful scout we know and love. I think he will have his Red Hood moment and potentially even be called Goldfire. Hopefully not anytime soon. I'm okay with no Bumblebee for now. BHI Space 1 says, well, I think Nova Prime, Sentinel, or the Fallen may be upcoming issues, and the Dinobots will also be included. Dinobots, yes. I think Nova, Sentinel, and the Fallen, I think that's just a little too far out there right now for where the story is. I think we're pretty much still kind of Earth-based with a little bit of Cybertron. So, Hound X Clutch will become canon. Kadeo64, I don't know why you're saying canon. It is canon, man. Read G.I. Joe. Hound and Clutch are lovers, man. People need to be reading G.I. Joe. You guys are missing out on that action. Kyle Weiss, how do you say that? Kyle Lewis. Guys, I don't know how to say your names. I'm sorry. Here are his ideas. Megatron's Dark Matrix will tie into Void Rivals, Quintesson War, event, and won't ever be mentioned again afterwards. You know what? Kyle, I do fear that that's what's going to happen. Bumblebee will be rebuilt into Goldbug sometime after the Autobots and G.I. Joe become allies. The thoroughly disappointing Elita 1 plotline will have a thoroughly disappointing end. Whoa! Hold on, Kyle. I'm actually really loving what they're doing with Elita 1, so careful there. Watch your step. Thundercracker will become Superion's arm, and also this guy... Dude, you didn't read the pinned comment. We can't be doing this. You know, it's illegal now to say that Thundercracker will become Superion's arm. It's illegal. I'm making it illegal. Astro Train's dead love is the Nemesis, or possibly Fumes based off of the unused Diaclone triple changer. Sure. General Flag isn't Zarbon, a Dragon Ball character, nor will he be Zartan, the actual G.I. Joe character. Bro, you guys have got to get on Zarbon. You guys need to understand who I'm not talking about Dragon Ball Zarbon. I know who Zarbon is in Dragon Ball, and I know who Zartan is in G.I. Joe. I'm talking about Zarbon. Go watch Teletran Tapes. I'm so upset I can't even say the name of the podcast I'm on. Teletran Tapes. Go back and watch every single episode, and you will find clues and lore about Zarbon. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Red Hood says the Dinobots will become Volcanicus when they're introduced because Shockwave underestimates Wheeljack, only for him to say, nah, I learned a trick refitting your buddy Thundercracker as Superion's replacement arm. Ugh, guys, this is illegal. We can't be saying this. We cannot be saying this. We can't be talking about it. I made it illegal. Oh my goodness. This is a good theory, though. I don't think the Dinobots are going to be Volcanicus. Again, I feel like that's just too much too soon. I feel like they're going to do... Well, normally I would say they would just do one Dinobot at a time, but, you know, maybe they're just going to introduce every single Dinobot underneath the sun immediately, because, you know, that's the way Kirkman goes. Anyways, Atron Clintwood says we are going to get a Starscream Ghost Exorcist arc. I would love this, where he starts controlling other Decepticons and Autobots, and they have to do something about it. Shenanigans abound. This is what I'm talking about. This is the wild stuff that I'm talking about. Another wild theory is from longtime channel friend Effective, who says, my theory is that I'm going to be in the next issue. Effective, you know, you might be in the next issue. Who knows? Jawanji says, I have a theory concerning the Autobot forces on Cybertron. We noticed we only saw Blades and not the other Protectobots. What if they weren't killed but captured, and then Shockwave used some nanites to control a one-armed defensor who's working for the Decepticons until he is freed? Interesting. Another theory is that what if between issues 28 and 30, Magnus actually gets killed, his body merges with RC, which will help the Autobots hold off the Decepticons for a bit, but because of the overwhelming force of 2 Decepticon combiners, and of course Megatron back at full HP, Wheeljack is forced to release the unfinished Dinobots who help turn the tide in the Autobots' favor, but then due to incomplete mental capacity, they turn on the Autobots and desert them. Jawanji, you're on it, man. I like all of these theories. These are good. That would be cool. I don't know about Defensor because, well, we haven't seen Defensor, so it would be interesting to see that some Autobots that have been controlled by Shockwave. That would be a good idea. Morgan says, Sparky being unaffected by the Megatron corruption in the Matrix means that organic life can't be affected by the gun mode, and the Dark Matrix was created by either Unicron or the Quintessons. I agree with these. It would be interesting to see a human pick up Megatron in gun mode and him be like, yeah, shoot this person. And they're like, nah, man, you have no control over me. George out here saying Alita implies that Orion Pax was much more violent. What if both he and Megatron were gladiators in the Energon universe? Alternatively, what if Orion Pax was an enforcer for Sentinel Prime? Good theories, good theories. We shall see. We shall see what they are. Diego out here saying a Cybertronian will end up in the Zertonian, Agronian body from Void Rivals due to their being heavily damaged. That's a good idea, especially with those Energon ports. If you're not reading Void Rivals, then you need to catch up on that. The 2 main characters from Void Rivals have Energon ports in their head, and they obviously have some type of connection to Transformers. Grim Dang out here saying the Dinobots are a creation of the government. This is a good idea, actually. This is actually really interesting, that Wheeljack finds the bones of dinosaurs, but it would be interesting if the government stepped in, or even Mask stepped in to kind of take on that plot point. That'd be interesting. Good friend of the channel, Brushed Ranger here, says, number 1, Bumblebee will become Goldbug. Yeah, he might, or we could just leave him dead. Alita 1 will become Black Arachnia, like in Transformers Animated. Very unlikely, but that would be sick. I feel like character-wise, she's kind of already there to a degree. Omega Supreme is on Earth and will tie into the Void Rivals aspect of the universe together. Oh, he's going to tie in all those together. Could be. Cosmos will return. Of course. Megatron's arm corruption is Unicron, very similar to 86, where he can influence and hurt him. All good theories. But I need them to be more wild next time, Brushed. Brad Foster says, more Decepticons are going to become Autobots, maybe. I hope not. I feel like 1 is enough for now. Dino out here saying Starscream becomes Oktar for good and rallies up the Combaticons since they admire him in this universe to turn against Megatron. I don't know about that. I feel like Starscream is best used as Starscream. Omega says Unicron is coming. I think he's definitely going to be in the series, I feel like. I kind of hope they don't use him too early. IDW kind of used him as the big bad for the finale. I don't know if we need to do that here, but I don't want them to blow their load too early with Unicron. Pardon my French. Smiley Suburban says Starscream will use the body parts from the pile of dead Decepticons he was thrown into to rebuild his body, akin to being the Cybertronian Frankenstein's monster before going his own way. That would be a cool way to kind of pay homage to that original Frankenstein Autobot X, I think was his name from Generation 1. Timeliner out here saying the evil Optimus Primal would appear from the Blastozone portal to reformat Optimus Prime with the mix of Viacon Plague, G-Virus, transforming him into Galva Convoy, killing and Viaconizing some Autobots along the way. Primal and Galva Convoy would depart into the future, the 34th century, when Cybertron and Earth had become one planet, Gaiatron. Did I say that right? They use Convoy's now corruptive Dark Energon Matrix to purify the maladroid Commandron resistance, whose battle against the monsters of the, Antares Empire. Thus, Master Renegade will rule supreme over Gaiatron with Convoy and Primal by his side in the 21st century. Autobots, G.I. Joe, and Mask, assisted by Gigawatt, chase Optimus Prime forward in time, hoping to return him back and prevent a dark future for Transformers and humanity alike. Is that wild enough for you? Timeliner, I think I just had a stroke, but I absolutely love this. Thank you for putting this here. Dangerous Girl says, here's an actual crazy theory. What if Shredhead and Carly pull off headmasters. That would be cool if they somehow found a way to put headmasters in there. Caldonian says Optimus has a chance to talk to Oktar and realizes that he created Starscream through trying to win the war / killing Genvo while they tried to escape fighting, no less, which sends Optimus on a spiral where he refuses to fight. Rodimus takes up the mantle for a bit. I don't think this is a bad theory, but I don't want Rodimus stepping in that soon. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Thundercracker23 says Sea Spray was on the chunk of Cybertron that fell to Earth. Yes, more mini-bots, please. Oh, wait, no, we don't need more characters. No mini-bots. Atomic Prime 86 says not very wild, but very possible. Cliffjumper finds his way back to Earth and starts a clan with Shredhead, Carly, Spike, RC, Ultra Magnus, and Beachcomber. Then, when he ultimately dies, he can say, with great emotion, "At least I got my clan back." Oh my god, Atomic. Oh my god, that's so sad. I would love that. That is so sad. I am a mistake, says Soundwave is going to start his own Splinter faction. He is loyal to the Decepticons' cause and to Megatron to a fault, but he's also reasonable. I think Megatron is going to cross a line that even Soundwave cannot follow him past and break off. We know he won't join the Autobots, but he's had plenty of chances already. Oh, he has had plenty of chances already, but I could definitely see him trying to lead a separate faction, perhaps one that tries to avoid the war altogether. This is interesting. I don't think this is what they're going to do, but I like this theory with Soundwave kind of breaking off from Megatron, because there's definitely, Megatron and Soundwave definitely have some, it seems like they have some different ways of handling situations. Volkswagen Banana, amazing name, says, just repeating what I've heard before, Elita 1 will be Megatron's new wielder. This is a really good theory that I actually enjoy. I don't think Alita's going to become a Decepticon. Everybody's saying that, oh, she's going to get a Decepticon badge because she's already a bad guy. I don't think so. She's going to stay an Autobot. She's just going to be a force of nature against Optimus. But I do think it would be interesting to see what would happen if Megatron showed up and she ended up picking him up. What that would bring about. That'd be very interesting. Bobby Bob says, well, I had a theory about Shockwave returning with a whale alt mode, kind of like Tidal Wave IDW, but kind of obsolete now. Well, at least we're getting that toy of him, Bobby. Ron Bon DeJean, great friend of the channel over here, says, Shockwave will rebuild himself and turn against Megatron. He may even try to form an alliance with Elita to destroy all Earthbound Transformers. He's been leading the Decepticons for millions of years. Why give it up for an illogical leader? Hell, within a week of rediscovering the Nemesis crew, Cybertron has been cut in half, and the dominant Decepticon army has been reduced to hiding. But hold on a second. He says, I lied. Scrapper will become a Prime after going on strike, and all will have dental. Dude, if Scrapper became the leader of the Decepticons, everybody would have dental. Even I would even go over and join the Decepticons so I could have dental insurance, because, guys, health insurance out there is crazy, but we're not here to talk about that. Shackham Cruz says, I think around issue 35 we will see Galvatron or just an upgraded version of Megatron or more corrupt. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of prefer Galvatron being a separate character from Megatron. I like the 86 movie. I love it, of course, but I kind of like Galvatron being a separate guy, hoping that they maybe go that way. They probably won't, though, since everything seems to be so inherently focused and tied back to, Generation 1. But, yeah, I kind of hope that they do the comic thing more. The Real Conceptus says, I think Elita is going to be Black Arachnia. Yeah, we've heard that. It's possible. It's possible, but also giving solicitations as of recently. It's currently December 23rd. I don't know if they're going to be doing that. Z3 on so on, can't say your name, sorry, I'm illiterate, says, I feel like Ultra Magnus might be a white duplicate of Optimus Prime in the Skybound comics, just like how he was supposed to be in the Dreamwave comics and also based on the toy. I've said this before a couple of times, I don't want Magnus to be a little dude inside of a big piece of armor like he was in IDW with Minimus Ambus. However, I am a hypocrite because if he steps out of that armor and he is just a white Optimus Prime, I am going to stand up and clap. So, Nagatem says, Unicron is actually a decent god, and for once he doesn't want to consume all reality. He just wants to help Megatron save his guys with tough love. That actually sounds like a good idea. There go my dogs barking. Can you hear my dogs barking? Simple Spud says Cliff Jumper will eventually have to kill Shockwave. He's mortified at first, but Alita keeps forcing him into battle, and over time, he gets a taste for it. It all comes to a head during the Autobot Civil War. The Decepticons choose this time to come out of hiding and go on the attack, which only leads to more confusion. So when he tries to pull the trigger on Thundercracker, who is still a Decepticon, as far as he knows, Shredhead drives in to take the shot for him instead. Nearly killing the only family he has left, sends Cliff over the edge, and he breaks down completely. And it's down to Carly to help him recover like RC did for her, and Ultra Magnus for RC before. This is Simple Spud. This is a really good one. Can we get Simple Spud writing the Skybound comics now? Can we have Robert Kirkman hop off so he can focus on other things? Simple Spud is going to take over. Gary the Gremlin, who's a fantastic content creator, you need to start watching his stuff, comes in with the wildest, hottest, most amazing theory and take for this comic, which is Megatron gets Optimus Prime pregnant. Guys, I'm not even going to comment on this. Just the fact that I hearted this comment, I think says enough. This is what we need. Frank says, not so much a theory, but much of wishful thinking, but I want to see Death Saurus eventually. I'm sure he's years away if they even do him at all, but it would be cool if he was based on his manga version where he has a soft spot for children despite being the villain. That would be cool. Again, so far off from where we are right now, but it would be interesting to see some more of those characters, pop in. Fishy over here says Megatron and Optimus get married. Sorry, that they're already getting pregnant. We can't be doing that. Gary the Gremlin beat you to it, but good try. Good try. I really appreciate it. Dan the Man says 4 theories incoming. Number 1, Jolt, Breakaway, Shadow Striker, and Knockout will show up at some point. I think those might be your favorites. Omega Supreme will return and get to the Transformers. We'll get the Transformers off the planet to assist the Visionaries. Okay. Shockwave helps Alita to unlock Metroplex. And Family Force 5 will be introduced as a replacement for the Power Ranger. Dan's got it. Iron Claw says the humans use Ratchet for Superion's arm. All right, you know what? I said no Superion arm Thundercracker theories, but I didn't say anything about Ratchet, so this one gets a pass. But realize they can make their own protector bots for defense and rescue so that the Autobots and G.I. Joe can go for the attack. While Cobra learns to make the that one, yeah. MTMTE 27, great friend of the channel, says maybe the Cybertron Autobots will eventually make their way to Earth and Alita might try to usurp Optimus. I think that's actually where we're going with this. Again, solicitations have come out. I definitely think that's kind of where we're heading. Just a Guy with Glasses has a lot of text here. We're going to try and get through. It says, for some of my theories that I kind of want to happen for the Skybound Transformers was Optimus Prime and Megatron were they once brothers in arms or best friends similar to Transformers 1, or Optimus still as Orion Pax and Megatron still D16, all that good stuff. For the Dinobots, I kind of wished once Wheeljack invents them, he wants the versions of Grimlock that on his robot mode is similar to Bruce Banner, somewhat being smart as Wheeljack could rise their intelligence but retains the strength for a while. Okay, very interesting, very interesting. For RC and Ultra Magnus, both possibilities theories. If RC is the new Ultra Magnus or is the new Magnus, she would wear the Ultra Magnus armor, and the Magnus we know reveals himself to be the white Optimus Prime. Yeah, I would stand up and clap for that. And then finally, I do want to see more Optimus Prime relationship with Alita 1. However, Alita 1 called Optimus Welcome Back Optimus Prime when Optimus crushed Shockwave's head, and how we see the former Prime she knew was a brutal leader and all that stuff too. He says, and Optimus had a relationship similar to the Generation 1. I want to also have a flashback too, focusing on Optimus Prime and Bumblebee as Optimus sees Bumblebee as a son, similar to Sparky sees Spike. I think that last one, I feel like we've gotten all that we need to when it comes to Optimus and Alita. I feel like the more we explore, it's kind of retreading. And then with Optimus and Bumblebee, I don't think there really needs to be. I mean, again, I'm not going to complain if they do more with that, but I don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like Danny Warren Johnson was able to convey that enough, especially with Jorge Corona's art. Lightyear Pig says Bumblebee will come back at some point. Yep. Mr. Shipper, I don't know, man, says, I think Spike should have stayed in the wheelchair permanently, not because I hate him, but because more disability representation. I actually agree with you here. I really do. I don't feel like Spike being out of the wheelchair helped the story in any way. I think that it would have been a great opportunity to have that representation, and the fact that he kind of just gets better is a little strange. I think it just would have altogether been better if he stayed in the wheelchair. Again, not because I hate him. I love him, but I think it would be even that much better if he stayed in the wheelchair. NOBO says Miles Mayhem will be how we get Nemesis Prime. This is a very popular theory, and I do like it. I do think it's a fun theory. We shall see. I like Bread70. I like Bread as well. Says, genuinely think Alita might betray the Autobots. Brother, I don't think she's going to betray the Autobots, but I think, she's gone against Optimus, and that's the situation that's going to happen. I don't think she's going to become a Decepticon. I know that's not what you're saying, but a lot of people think that. David S.S. Byrne says they will show us the past of Cybertron and how Prime was a ruthless and the thing he did to make Megatron destroy everything. I do hope that we get to see a little bit more flashbacks here. EK808 says, remember that scan that the Joes have? I know everyone has been saying that that'll be a Transformers Prime, Nemesis Prime type deal, but I want to say that Ultra Magnus will get badly injured and he will need to be transferred into a prototype white Optimus Prime body that the Joes cook up. Good idea. Unfortunately, that's Mask who has that scan. Although, well, actually, I guess Joe technically could have it, since Miles Mayhem got beaten up, since he's an old man, but maybe I just want the return of White Optimus Magnus. Yeah, I kind of do as well. Lumity Forever says Wheeljack will build the Dinobots. Yep. Tofu says Bumblebee will get randomly revived and will become Goldbug and have an off-road buggy mode. The off-road buggy mode, that would be cool. Yeah, I don't just want Bumblebee in gold and blue. Give us something original. Come on. Aiden says Skywarp could kill Thundercracker in a future issue or vice versa. Grimlock will be the only Dinobot built and could be a mentally unstable character. I hope he's the only one for a little while. We don't need all of them right away. Going to hunt down Decepticons and could have a friendly rivalry with Superion because they look similar. I don't recall them looking similar. I'm not sure where you're going with that one, but maybe. Joe says Alita 1 takes the Matrix from Prime and becomes the new Prime, but has questionable ethics leading to civil war with her as the bad guy. You know what? I love this theory, and I love your profile picture because it's Cliffjumper flipping off the Decepticons. It's great. The Punisher, the real-life Punisher here, says Shockwave somehow gets back to Earth, and Ultra Magnus have to prove that he has overcome his PTSD, epic battle between them. Or eventually, Alita revives all fallen Autobots, Perceptor, Hover, Cosmos, Moonracer, and decides to go onto full offensive on Earth Autobots, and battle similar to that between Starscream and Soundwave occurs with Optimus either deciding to kill Alita or banish her, and she and her teams up with Decepticons, which leads to mercenaries. Again, we're obviously getting to that point in the story with what we've seen with solicitations, so, we'll see what happens with that. Silver Windfox says Alita 1 becomes the new Megatron or even teams up with him to kill Optimus. Bumblebee comes back as Goldbug. Again, very two common theories. Bunkmaster B, who's a very good friend of the channel, says Transformers aren't actually robots in disguise, but are instead actually vehicles in disguise as robots. Oh my god, I've never thought of this. Holy crap, man. This one might be too much bunk. This is crazy. Trash Gang Entertainment says Starscream eventually leads a third faction of neutral-leaning Transformers pooled from both Autobots and Decepticons. I kind of like that idea. Emma Bands says the Dark Matrix was created by Unicron and given to the Quintessons to cause a war among Cybertronians, deleting their personalities and turning them into some kind of berserkers. And Megatron is just their pawn. I do think Megatron is a pawn of the obviously he's a pawn of the Dark Master that the Quintessons serve, so it'll be interesting to see who that is. Powerglide 1985's got two here. He says we'll probably get Powerglide, me, or Alpha Bravo back on the Aerialbot team. Absolutely understand that. I want Powerglide too. If you haven't watched, I have a original audiobook about Powerglide that came out on Christmas Eve. Go watch that, please. Mr. Man Person Guy, great name, says not really a wild theory, but I feel like Alita probably hates humans. Yeah, I don't know if she hates humans. I think maybe she just hates Earth. Optimus took priority to protect their world over Cybertron. She probably isn't Decepticon level, I agree, and wouldn't take joy in killing. She still probably wouldn't hesitate to kill a guy, though, but she most likely has hate in her spark for them, especially now that they're Optimus's allies. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I guess this is the Alita 1 is a racist theory. Yay. I don't know if I would use that terminology, but I understand what you're saying. Christian EE says, just theories? Okay, Prowl taught Bluestreak and the others to farm Decepticons for not just Energon, but limbs, optics, T-Cogs, other organs, weapons, etc. He's also possibly who told Alita that Optimus abandoned them once the Ark left Cybertron. She didn't listen to him at first until Optimus wanted to stay on Earth. Man, you guys, we just hate Prowl, don't we, from IDW. Wasp was also a part of Cliffjumper and Bumblebee's clan and was possibly being experimented on by Shockwave. These are the wild theories that I want, guys. Shockwave's research and projects will be uncovered and used in the future by a clone maybe named Shockblast, and will lead to the earliest Predacons, including Wasp as Waspinator. Thundercracker might become an aerial bot. We talked about this. It's illegal. Megatron will eventually be defeated and so badly damaged that his fusion cannon and gun transformation will be lost. So refusing to be tormented by the Quintessons once again, he takes an offer given by Unicron and becomes Galvatron, and might have the ability to upgrade his loyalists to his choosing. The fusion cannon will be recovered by Alita 1, giving her the gun transformation and turning her into Mega Empress, but she will embrace the darkness and chaos and might even control it, unlike Optimus, and possibly because Megatron is already dead. So the cannon no longer has a master but Alita. You know what? Crazy Wild Theories is what I wanted. Megatron's arm cannon going to Alita. That would be cool. Is it going to happen? I doubt it, but it'd be cool. Tiny Maple Art says, it's probably not very wild, but I think the one giving Megatron his power is Unicron. I agree with you. Bagged Ranch Girl. I think that most of the Autobots on Earth are going to defect from Optimus Prime and serve under Ultra Magnus, feeling like they have been slighted by the recent events with the Decepticons and how forgiving Optimus is. I honestly wouldn't blame them. I honestly would not blame them if they did that. Yours Was Taken says Alita 1 is so hell-bent in hating Optimus Prime that eventually she will be recruited by the Decepticons and fight the Autobots, potentially even killing Cliffjumper. No! Herself in the process. No! Ionic Parody says, I think that Shockwave and Alita are going to team up to destroy Earth and the Transformers that are on it. Menasor and Defensor will be on their team. Man, there's a lot of Alitas coming to kill you theories. This guy, whose name I can't pronounce, says, it's not so much of a theory, but a prediction that I thought that'd be cool. I hope we get a scene of the people that were spared from the Decepticon attack by Thundercracker strengthening his beliefs. That, you know what? That would be cool to see those people again, or to have them speak out. That would be good. Yet another name that I can't read specifically because I don't have my glasses on. They say Alita 1 will be joining the Decepticons. Shockwave will use Cliffjumper for something, perhaps rebuilding himself or creating a new Transformer. Starscream will use Astrotrain's body parts, there's my dogs again, to rebuild himself and will become a terrifying creature that attacks both Autobots and Decepticons. Somebody else says Shockwave will be the one to end Megatron. Interesting. I kind of like this. Brittany Becker says Unicron shows up, but the Matrix does nothing because it's burnt out from the Grimdark. That's when the real warhorse of the Hasbro farm show up and save the day. The OP My Little Ponies charge to the rescue and unleash the rainbow of light. Unicron disintegrates into a shower of glitter, and everyone celebrates with cupcakes and musical number. Should I be covering the Transformers X My Little Pony comics? I don't know anything about that franchise. Is that something that I need to be doing now? Wingshot says Megatron will kill Thundercracker, and he will get himself killed by Optimus Prime. Not very wild, but man, if that happens, man, I'm going to be crying. John Pressler says Optimus Prime will die and Hot Rod will get the Matrix of Leadership. No, don't do it, Kirkman, don't. Do something new. TF Scale Guy. He says Megatron's dark spark being connected to Mortalus, the god of death in Transformers. Interesting. Mayhem creating Nemesis Prime clone. Starscream becomes a herald of Unicron. Interesting. Optimus and Alita find peace together. I feel like that's where they're going to take it. Something will happen that's going to reveal the fallen Decepticons like Slipstream, Dirge, and Blitzwing. Oh, going to revive. My apologies. It's going to revive them. I hope so. It'd be interesting to use them. Sifty7 says, Astro Train's love is not a person, however, his ability to love. As he said, you're the one who took my ability to love. Interesting. Interesting. That's an interesting theory. Rotten fruit grow trees. Great name. Says Cliff is definitely going to do something to Shockwave. Something, you know what? This might be the wildest theory ever. Something is going to happen in the next issue. I agree. Blastronus says Elita 1 may not becomes Black Arachnia later in the story, and that character arc is setting up for. I don't know if she's going to become Black Arachnia. I don't know. Transformies says Blitzwing was an overcharged drone, probably the one we saw in the Starscream flashback. Was once Quintesson affiliated, but doesn't remember. Same as when he didn't in G1. This can also tie into Astrotrain thing. Also, Arcana Magnus will be a thing. I can also see Slipstream being sympathetic in the future. Interesting. Sarah says Starscream will become two-faced with red eyes representing Starscream and blue eyes representing Oktar, and he goes even further crazy. Interesting. He's got kind of a split personality. Nico says Starscream will become the new Blitzwing, with him transforming into the Hiss tank and jet, whereas Blitzwing will be a seeker. That's interesting. They kind of swap places. Tarn says Starscream going to come back and either defect from the Decepticons and be by himself or join the Autobots, which I really want, as I'm heavily biased for my love of TF Armada's version of Starscream and love his short stay for being an Autobot. I don't think this Starscream is going to become an Autobot, but I do like the idea of him kind of just going his own way. Gorgonzola says Slipstream, Blitzwing, and Dirge get revived by Thundercracker, with Slipstream joining the Autobots becoming a neutral and the others rejoining the Decepticons. I just don't think it's going to happen. I feel like they've kind of closed that door already with the issue itself. So, Blank Boy says Starscream rebuilds himself to look like Armada, or we could get a new design. We don't have to refresh. Shatterwave says, I think Superion, is going to reappear again at some point, except this time Megatron is going to find a way to kill him or make Starscream use Megatron to kill him. Man, you really just want Superion to die. Alejandro says the Dinobots will go rogue and create their own faction, inciting the Beast Wars. Roar! That would be awesome. Please give me Beast Wars. No, we don't need more comics. But Beast Wars Energon universe, that would be really sick. Anyway, but we don't need that. We don't need that. Misfit Wolf says Blitzwing redemption arc. I don't know. We got to see what his character is like first. Spicy Jack says Starscream will become a ghost. Yes, please bring back Starscream Ghost. Mr. Meef says I see Starscream not only beginning the Decepticon revolution against Megatron, but could possibly have two-face situation between his two personalities. This is the second person that said that. That's a really interesting idea that keeps coming up. Steve Placeholder says Thundercracker will eventually stray away from the Autobots and become like Beachcomber just alone. I thought that's where he was going. It'll be interesting to see if he just kind of becomes a non-combatant. Angel Perez says Soundwave will experience a redemption and form a genuine bond with Carly. Whoa. Miles Mayhem's machinations will lead to Nemesis Prime. Yep. And we will see Sorry Sumdac debut and be the EU's version of Primus. What? You know what? That's not a crazy idea, especially with what they're doing in Void Rivals, how there's like Energon-based humans almost. You might be onto something, Angel Perez. You might be onto something. That's kind of crazy. Well, guys, thank you so much for leaving all of these wild comments. Man, this is going to be a long video to edit. I'm probably just going to leave this playing straight out. Whew. Next time, we'll probably just do a stream of this. But yeah, these are some really wild theories. But I'm looking forward to see Optimus Prime and Megatron get pregnant like Gary the Gremlin told us, because that's absolutely going to happen. That's 100% the type of story that Robert Kirkman is trying to tell us. All right. See you guys later.